Okay, so now we're moving into lesson 6, which is all about equivalent ratios. We talked about that and the ratio lesson a little bit, but not too much. We're going to go more into it with this lesson. So on page 59, okay, we're going to start with the real world link. Like I said, it's always a real world link or vocabulary. Okay, so going right into it. Andrea spent $2 to make 10 prints from a photo booth. Later, she spent $6 to make 30 prints. So we have 10 prints for $2, 30 prints for $6. So now we're going to put these into ratios, but in a fraction form. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one. So the prints were 10 for $2, and then 30 for $6. So it says compare the relationship between the numerators of each rate and exercise 1. So let's start with the numerators. So what do you know about 10 and 30? Okay, that's what they're asking. What could you say about 10 and 30? Well, the second one, 30, is 3 times as large as the first one. Okay, so 30 is 3 times as large as the first numerator. Okay, if you look, it's also, the denominator is the same way. So numerator was 3 times, and the denominator, the bottom, is 3 times as large. Okay, so this one's the numerator is 3 times as large, the denominator is 3 times as large. So, what is the unit rate for 10 prints? Well, remember, when we talked about unit rates, we wanted to simplify so we had 1 on the bottom. Our goal was to simplify each fraction down until we couldn't go any further. And the goal was to have 1. So the unit rate for 10 prints, so it would be set up like this. 10 prints over $2. Well, we can simplify this by dividing a 2 out. So we're going to divide 2 from both top and bottom. So that gets us 5 prints per $1. So 5 prints for $1 basically. So then they want you to do the unit rate for 30 prints. So we're going to do the same thing as we did here. So 30 prints, okay, over $6. Well, once again, we're trying to simplify this. So we're going to divide out a 6 here because it goes into both of them. So from top and bottom. So you get 5 prints for $1. Okay, are they equivalent? Well, remember, equivalent means they're not exact, like 10 and 2 and 30 and 6. Those aren't the same, but when you simplify them, you get the same thing. Well, when we simplified, did we get the same thing? Yes, we did. Yes. When simplified, they are the same rate. They have the same unit rate. That's another thing you can say. Yes, because they have the same unit rate. Or yes, when they're simplified, they have the same rate. Okay, those are 2 ways of putting it. It does not matter how you explain it as long as you state that yes, they are equivalent, and it's because when simplified all the way down, they are the same. Okay, they have the same rate when simplified. So, let's go ahead and go on to the next page. Alright, so we have use unit rates. So there are different ways to determine if 2 ratios or rates are equivalent. One way is by examining unit rates, just like we did on the first page there. So by comparing quantities as rates in simplest form, you can determine if the relationship between the 2 quantities stays the same. So like this one. Remember, we had 10 prints for $2. Well, we divided a 2 out. We got 5 prints as $1 for $1. Okay, then we had 30 prints for $6. We divided a 6 out. We get 5 prints for $1. Well, those have the same unit rate, so they're equivalent ratios. That's what we're doing in this lesson. Okay, you're determining if these 2 ratios are going to be the same once they're simplified. So all we're doing again is simplifying fractions. Okay? So example number 1, right? We have 20 miles in 5 hours and 45 miles in 9 hours. So we're going to write these as fractions. simplify them and see if they're the same. So we have 20 miles over 5 hours. Well, we can simplify both of those by 5. So we get 4 miles per hour. Well, the next one was 45 miles in 9 hours. Well, we can divide a 9 out of both those, and you get 5 miles per hour. Are those the same? No. 4 and 5 are not the same, so they are not equivalent. That's how you would say that. Since they do not have the same unit rate, they are not equivalent. So right there's your answer. You're done. You can't do any more because they're not equivalent. So then example number 2. So they bought 3 t-shirts for $21 and 5 t-shirts for $35. So they're finding the unit price basically, like we talked about the other day. So $21 over 3 t-shirts. Well, we got to figure out what it is per t-shirt. That's the unit price. Okay, so we can divide a 3 out, and you get $7 per t-shirt. Well, then we have $35 for 5 t-shirts. Well, we can divide a 5 out of both of these. So we get $7 per t-shirt. Well, if you look, $7 per t-shirt, $7 per t-shirt. Are they the same? Yes. So since the rates have the same unit rate, they are equivalent. That's how you would state it. Okay, those match, they're equivalent. Done. Okay, we're gonna skip A and B for now and go do a couple more examples together. So we're gonna jump over to page 63. All right, so determine if each pair of ratios or rates is equivalent. Explain your reason. So we're gonna start with number 1. So we have $3 for 6 bagels. Well, since we're talking about money, I'm gonna put 6 bagels. No, sorry, $3 for 6 bagels, because we're talking about money. Okay, so $3 for 6 bagels, all right, and then the other one was $9 for 24 bagels. So I'm gonna do $9 for 24 bagels. Okay, so first off, we have to simplify these. So what can I take out of 3 and 6? Well, 3. So I'm gonna divide by 3. Divide by 3. I shouldn't have put that so close. So we get $1 for 2 bagels. Well, we're not done because that's not a unit rate. Remember, unit rate, unit price has to have a 1 on the bottom. So we're gonna do, it's gonna be a fraction, which means in money, 50 cents per bagel. So every time they bought a bagel, it was 50 cents. If $1 is 2 bagels, if you cut that in half, it's 50 cents. So over here, we're gonna do the same thing. So what can you take out of 9 and 24? A 3. So we're gonna divide by 3. So we get 3 over 8. Okay, so we can't go any further than that. That's your fraction. Is that the same as 1/2? No. So, no, the unit rates are not the same. So they are not equivalent. And that is your explanation right there. Okay? Those two are not equivalent because they're not the same unit rates. Okay, let's do number 2 now. Now we have $12 for 3 paperback books, $28 for 7 paperback books. So I'm gonna start this up. So $12, 3 books. Okay, so first off, let's find the unit rate here. It's gonna divide. So we're gonna divide by 3. So we get $4 for 1 book. Okay? Then we're gonna do the same thing for this one. So $28 for 7 books. So we can divide a 7 out of both of these. So we get $4 per book. Okay, are these the same? Yes. So they are equivalent. Because the unit rates are the same. Okay, so that's how it's done. You literally write down the 2 unit rates. If they're equal, they're equivalent. If they're not the same, they're not equivalent. And that's how you explain it. All right, so let's go back. And I want you guys to do A and B on page 60 by yourselves. So pause the video, do A and B. Remember to determine if each pair is equivalent and then explain your reasoning. So if it's not equivalent, explain why. If it is equivalent, explain why it is equivalent. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video and work on A and B for right now. Now that you're back, let's do A and B together. So we have A, we have 36 t-shirts in 3 boxes. So I'm gonna set that up. 36 tees and 3 boxes. Okay, and then we have 60 tees and 6 boxes. So we need to simplify these. So in this case, I'm going to be able to take a 3 out of both of these, so I'm going to divide by 3. Okay, so we get 12 t-shirts and per box. Okay, and then we can divide a 6 out over here. So we're going to get 10 t-shirts per box. Are these the same? No. So not equivalent because unit rates aren't the same. And that's how you explain it. Not equivalent because unit rates aren't the same. Boom, done. You proved it, you explained it. That's all you have to do for these guys. You're just proving if they're equivalent or not. So letter B, we have 42 flowers and 7 vases. So 42 flowers, 7 vases. Next one is 54 flowers and 9 vases. So we're going to do the same thing, simplify. In this case, we can divide by 7. 6 flowers per vase. Divide by 9. 6 flowers per vase. So, are they the same? Yes, they're equivalent. So they're equivalent because unit rates are the same. Okay, so that is the goal, guys. You were just proving if they are equivalent or not. So now, we're going to go on to the next page. Okay, so we have page 61, we're going to have another example here. This is just a real world life example. So, Felicia read the first 60 pages of a book in 3 days. She read the last 90 pages in 6 days. Are these reading rates equivalent? So in your reason. So you're doing the same thing. Set it up as a fraction, simplify it to where you get the unit rate. So we had 60 pages in the first 3 days. So they simplified, divided by 3, you get 20 pages per day. So that's the unit rate for that. Now, we have 90 pages in 6 days, so you can divide by 6, because you want to get 1 on the bottom, that's the goal, and you get 15 pages per day. Are those the same? No. So, since the rates do not have the same unit rate, they are not equivalent. Right there, that's your answer right here. This is your proof. Okay? If those numbers aren't the same, they're not equivalent. As simple as that. Okay? That's all you need to know. So, why don't you guys go ahead and pause the video, and I want you guys to try to do C and D now. So pause the video, do C and D just like we did before. All you're doing is set it in fractional form, simplify, prove that if they're the same or not, if they're equal or not. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video and come back. Now that you're back, let's do letter C. So Marcia made 10 bracelets for 5 friends. Jen made 12 bracelets for 4 friends. Are these rates equivalent? So let's start with Marcia. So we got 10 bracelets for 5 friends. Okay? We can divide it 5 out. So we're going to divide by 5, so we get 2 bracelets per friend. Okay? That's what Marcia's basically doing. Now Jen made 12 bracelets for 4 friends. So we're going to divide by 4. So we get 3 bracelets per friend. Are those equivalent? No. Not equivalent. Because unit rates aren't the same. And you're done. Okay, letter D. Club A raised $168 by washing 42 cars. So $168, 42 cars. Okay, Club B raised $152 for 38 cars. So we got to figure out if they are doing the same rate, if they're charging the same amount. So we are going to divide it out. So this is actually divisible by 42, and you get $4 per car. This one's divisible by 38, and you get $4 per car. Are those the same? Yes. So they are equivalent because the unit rates are the same. So the unit rates are the same, so they're equivalent. So that's all you guys have to do here. Now, they're going to talk about equivalent fractions. Guys, it's the same thing, okay? If a unit rate is not easily found, use equivalent fractions to decide whether the ratios or rates are equivalent. So what they mean by this is you're going to set this up to see if these are equal. Can you go from 3 to 9 by multiplying the same thing? Okay, so they multiplied by 3. Now they got to go to 7 to 14. Well, they multiplied by 2. Is that the same thing? No, so they're not equivalent. If you do not multiply or divide by the top and bottom the same thing, it doesn't work. Okay, let's do another example of that one. Alright, so number 4 on page 62. Okay, number 4 on page 62. So a human adult takes 16 breaths in 60 seconds. A puppy takes about 8 breaths in 15 seconds. Are these rates equivalent? Alright, so obviously we can't just simplify these, it's not going to be very easy. So what they're saying to do is actually set it up in a fraction. So we have 16 breaths over 60 seconds. And we're trying to see if it equals 8 breaths in 15 seconds. Okay? What do you have to do to get from 16 to 8? You have to divide by 2. Okay? How do you get from 60 to 15? Well, you have to divide by 4. So, did we divide by the same thing? We divided by 2 up here, we divided by 4 down there. Is that the same? No, they're not the same number. So no, these aren't equivalent because the unit rates are not the same. Okay? So that's all you're doing in this lesson. You are just proving if they are equivalent or not. So all you need to do is put it in fractional form. If the numbers aren't easy to work with by simplifying a simple number out, set it up like example number 4 here. Okay, back on page 61, just like example number 4. So do that, set it up like this, and see if these two numbers match, then they're equivalent. If they don't match, they're not equivalent. Okay, so the unit rates have to be the same for them to be equivalent. And you'll have IXLs for these. So the IXLs will be posted as well, so you need to watch the video, finish the video, take the notes, then do the IXL. Also, do not forget about ALEKS. You have to do 10 ALEKS topics per week. Okay?